Today, we're diving into one of the most talked about wrestling careers in recent history, CM Punk. A name that's synonymous with controversy and change in the world of professional wrestling, has opened up about his journey with All Elite Wrestling, AEW, and it's a story you won't want to miss. Let's rewind to that unforgettable moment, his debut at AEW Rampage's The First Dance in Chicago, the crowd's energy, the iconic sounds of Cult of Personality blaring through the arena, and the emotions that ran through every fan's veins that night. It was a moment that signaled CM Punk's return to the wrestling world after a 7-year hiatus. But, what was really going on in CM Punk's mind during that monumental return? How did he feel stepping back into the ring after all those years away from the spotlight? What did he truly think about returning to the chaotic, unpredictable world of professional wrestling, but this time under the banner of AEW instead of WWE? Moreover, how did his initial interactions with Tony Khan shape his decision to join AEW? Some new comments from Punk shed light on these questions, and trust me, if you're a fan of CM Punk or a wrestling aficionado, you're going to want to hear exactly what he said about his time in AEW and his relationship with Tony Khan. CM Punk's return to wrestling began in August 2021 when he officially signed with AEW, marking a major shift in the landscape of professional wrestling. This was after his exit from WWE back in January 2014, which was filled with public drama and disillusionment. Punk's disdain for WWE was well documented, and his infamous shoot interview with Colt Cabana remains one of the most revealing pieces of wrestling media ever. Punk left WWE after what seemed like a bitter fallout, full of frustration with the company's system, leadership, and direction. Fast forward 7 years, and AEW presented an alternative, a new stage with a fresh promise of creative freedom, less corporate red tape, and a passionate fan base eager to embrace him. Despite his long absence, CM Punk's return to wrestling was monumental. The pop he received at AEW Rampage, when he finally stepped out in front of the Chicago crowd, was deafening. Fans were ecstatic, and it was clear that the anticipation for his return was more than just about the in-ring action. Punk wasn't just a wrestler, he was a symbol of defiance, a voice that spoke out against the system. He was returning to a different world, one where the rules could be bent, broken, or even completely rewritten. But what about Punk's mindset when it came to his relationship with AEW's owner and booker, Tony Khan? Many fans had wondered how CM Punk felt about the man who was responsible for bringing him into the company. Punk, as we know, was no stranger to tension with authority figures, particularly with Vince McMahon during his time in WWE. So, how did he feel about working with someone like Khan, a lifelong wrestling fan who created AEW to be an alternative to WWE's monopoly? In an interview on The Masked Man show with David Shoemaker, CM Punk shared his perspective on what gave him the confidence to return to WWE, and more importantly, why he felt that return would be different than his previous exit. In this conversation, Punk reflected on the importance of relationships in wrestling and how those relationships influenced his career trajectory. He recounted a significant conversation he had with Triple H during Thanksgiving, in which Triple H took time out of his holiday to speak with Punk. According to Punk, this moment was pivotal, as it showed him that Triple H was not just looking at Punk as a star to sign, but as someone who could contribute to the business in a meaningful way. Punk admired the fact that Triple H wasn't working from a place of ego but instead wanted to work collaboratively to create something better. This was a stark contrast to the previous administration, according to Punk, who often saw the business as something that should be controlled with an iron fist. Punk explained that he respected the shift in approach under Triple H, feeling that it was more about working together to elevate everyone rather than just using stars to enhance the brand. He mentioned how he butted heads with Triple H in the past due to their similarities, but that now, he saw their relationship as a much more harmonious collaboration. However, when it came to Tony Khan, things were a bit different. Punk was candid in his assessment of Khan, noting that while he respected Khan's passion for wrestling, he didn't think Khan truly understood the business of wrestling in the way someone like Vince McMahon did. Punk compared Khan's approach to running AEW to that of a fantasy booking league, where the focus was more on producing great matches than on building compelling stories and characters that fans could care about. This was a point Punk made clear in his interviews, and it was a criticism that many had echoed about AEW under Khan's leadership. Punk was not shy in saying that he didn't believe AEW's creative direction aligned with his vision for wrestling, especially in terms of how talent should be presented and booked. CM Punk's comments about the devil you know versus the devil you don't know are key in understanding his perspective on working with Tony Khan. Punk admitted that he had chosen to work with Khan because, in his words, it was better to go with someone he didn't fully trust rather than someone who he knew had a history of mistreating him. While Punk may not have been completely comfortable with Tony Khan, he believed that working with him was a safer bet compared to dealing with the issues he had with WWE and Vince McMahon. Despite his return to AEW, Punk's time in the company was rocky, to say the least. After a series of backstage controversies, including a highly publicized altercation with Jungle Boy Jack Perry at AEW's All-In event in 2023, Punk's run with AEW came to a bitter end. This incident, along with a prior altercation at All Out 2022, ultimately led to Punk's exit from the company. His time in AEW was marked by moments of brilliance in the ring, but also a series of backstage drama and political struggles that seemed to overshadow his in-ring achievements. After his departure from AEW, CM Punk made his return to WWE in 2023 at the Survivor Series event. This return marked a new chapter in Punk's career, as he rejoined the company under different leadership and with a different approach to storytelling. It wasn't just about the big matches or the nostalgic returns. It was about finding a new role in the business that he could thrive in, one that allowed him to work with people who respected him and his legacy. Punk's comments about AEW and Tony Khan continue to fuel debates among wrestling fans. On one hand, AEW has been praised for its willingness to take risks and its focus on in-ring action, but on the other hand, it has also been criticized for failing to develop the types of compelling stories that drive fan interest and long-term investment. CM Punk's words about the fantasy booking style of AEW are a reminder that professional wrestling is not just about great matches, it's about the stories that lead up to those matches and the emotional investment of the fans. One of the central issues Punk faced in AEW was what he saw as a lack of structure in how the company booked its talent. According to Punk, the focus on putting together five-star matches often came at the expense of building meaningful rivalries and creating characters that fans could truly get behind. In his view, AEW's emphasis on high-quality wrestling matches without sufficient build-up or character development was ultimately detrimental to the long-term health of the company. Punk argued that the business of wrestling wasn't just about giving fans great matches but also about telling stories that made those matches matter. Another issue Punk had with AEW's booking philosophy was its lack of hype video packages and recap segments. According to Punk, AEW's reluctance to air these types of videos was a misstep because they helped build anticipation and allowed casual viewers to understand the stakes of a match or storyline. By not providing enough context or background information, AEW risked losing viewers who might not have been as familiar with the storylines. Punk's comments reflect a broader concern that AEW's booking style was not as accessible or welcoming to casual fans, who make up a significant portion of any wrestling promotion's audience. At the end of the day, CM Punk's time in AEW was marked by both triumph and turmoil. His return to wrestling was a breath of fresh air for many fans, but his time with AEW was short-lived and filled with controversies. Whether or not Punk's criticisms of AEW are valid is up for debate, but one thing is clear: he remains one of the most compelling and polarizing figures in professional wrestling. His story is far from over, and his future in WWE promises to be just as eventful as his past. As we continue to watch his journey unfold, one thing is certain: CM Punk's legacy in wrestling will always be marked by his willingness to speak his mind and shake up the business in ways few others dare to.